Welcome to the Friends of FEADies podcast, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner ISED, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. This show is all about celebrating the incredible journeys of female entrepreneurs in the agri-food and food manufacturing sector. We're here to dish out the secrets of success and serve up a side of inspiration along the way. We are the Feed program where dreams are made, businesses are born, and the agri-food world is your oyster. Let's dine together. Today's guest is Natasha Chawla, founder of Greens and Beans. Greens and Beans was created to help families get more vegetables and legumes into their everyday meals through convenient, nutritious products. But while we'll certainly talk about the business, today's conversation goes much deeper than product development or entrepreneurship. Natasha spent more than 2 decades building a successful corporate career before stepping into the world of entrepreneurship. Along the way, she discovered that building a business wasn't just about creating a product, it was about discovering new parts of herself. Today, we'll be talking about identity, emotional intelligence, resilience, vulnerability, and what happens when entrepreneurship challenges everything you thought you knew about success. Hi, Natasha, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Lindsay. Great to be here.
Yeah, very happy to have you. So first things first, before we dive too much into the personal side of the journey, let's just get the listeners familiar with your business in case they aren't. So if they're not familiar with Greens and Beans, can you just tell us a little bit about the business?
Great. Greens and Beans is a plant-based company. We're based out of Vancouver, Canada. And in one line, we make nutrient-dense, fiber-packed pasta sauces. Every sauce of ours contains at least 7 vegetables. And we've got 4 SKUs, where 2 SKUs have plant-based protein, that is lentils in them. So one pouch equals to 40% of your daily fiber intake. We're completely allergen-free, clean labels, no artificial ingredients. And we're doing everything to suit the moms, to suit the busy work life, because with one pouch, while we say they're pasta sauces, you can actually make them into soup, pizza, put them on sandwiches. So it's like a mom hack. That's what the company's about. That's what the product's about.
Amazing. It's like a mom hack sauce. I like that. So where is Greens and Beans today as a business compared to when you first started?
So what's interesting is that way back in 2014, I started the business. I did the product development, and then life happened. And so for almost 10 years, I did nothing on it. And I just brought the product to market last year. I would say exactly a year from today. And we are in almost 80 stores all across BC and Alberta, and we're growing very, very aggressively. We're on Amazon, we're on Shopify, we're having very deep conversations with food service. So we're kind of firing across all cylinders.
Congratulations. That's super exciting. 80 stores in a year is a huge accomplishment. So you've had this successful career leading teams and delivering results. What has kind of been different about now switching into this role as an entrepreneur?
So it's been very different. I kind of draw a parallel to becoming a first-time mother, because it's almost like a moment in time when you've been pregnant for 9 months, and then you have the baby, but everything that you're going through is for the first time, is an experience in itself. And I almost feel that it's a journey to really figure yourself out. It's to discover your own identity. And that's what the shift has been for me, is in terms of corporate world to the entrepreneurship world, is that there was a lot of, I would say, success in the corporate world, and there's a lot of success in the entrepreneurship world as well. But the kind and the process of the success has been very, very different. So it's really about figuring out who I am as a person, figuring out who I am as personally, professionally, and then how does that really actually resonate with this new world that I'm building.
Mhm. So, I guess, has your perception of yourself changed since starting Greens and Beans?
Totally, totally. I mean, I've been this, I've always, felt comfortable as being this uh, corporate executive sitting in boardrooms, making really hard decisions. But here, there are a lot of emotions that come out which are undiscovered emotions. So, for example, the number one, I would say, emotion that I have experienced is this feeling of failure, and the failure of, not just a failure of the product or the company, it's my personal failure because I've reached a certain level in my career. And now to fail would mean, a big setback for me. So, I mean, there are a lot of, I would say, things that I've discovered. Like that's a certain negative aspect. But there's one aspect that I recognized is that courage, for example. It's something that at a workplace we all work, we're all in the corporate world. We're doing things day after day after day. But the kind of courage that you need when you're an entrepreneur is completely different. So it brings out aspects of you that you've never ever imagined that you had within you. And now you're discovering those things, and you're kind of figuring out how to navigate through those emotions and those, I would say, feelings.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny because you're, really well established in this one way, but yeah, it's very different when you're betting on yourself, versus like this like team environment that you're used to working in.
Absolutely. I mean, again, um, inherently, I'm very confident person. I know, and again, with the experience that I've built over the years, I know that there are things that you have to do it in the right way. And I guess that's probably why in a year we've been able to see the success that we're seeing is because we've learned things in a certain way. I always say that I started my career working on Unilever and Coca-Cola brands. So when you work on those brands, you kind of work through the structure of it and you know the steps. But still, irrespective of all of that, when you're doing it on your own and you're betting on your own, uh, the feeling of, as I said, the courage that you need, the fear of failure, all of those things is very interesting on a day-to-day basis. The other day, I was just sitting and I was just doing a reel, and I was saying that what is fascinating is that at a split moment, I was feeling 100 different emotions. I was feeling fear, anger, frustration, happiness, success, like so many different things. And I think that's what entrepreneurship to me has been.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think too, the other thing that's really interesting for us to talk a little bit about is kind of like starting over after success. Like you've had this very successful career, and you kind of, as an entrepreneur, are kind of becoming a beginner all over again, and kind of starting from scratch in some ways. So, what has that experience been like for you?
So it's funny, I call myself the CEO of the company, the co-founder, and the janitor of the company. So there are no roles. Essentially, that's what an entrepreneur means. And again, within the corporate world also, I grew up the ladder. And so when you grow up the ladder, you've done the hard work, you've done the running around. But as you said, like, starting over, this is what it means is that really picking those cases of sauces and putting them on the pallet, arranging them, making sure the labels are correct. It takes a lot of, I would say, discipline. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence because there's the part about, saying that, oh, I can do anything. Yes, we all can, we all can get our hands dirty, get into the weeds of things. But I think what challenges us most at that moment is that I've been, I've done all that 25 years back and I'm doing it again. So I think that's the moment where you have to have the emotional intelligence to say, there is a bigger picture and there's a reason why I'm doing this. And moving forward from that, looking at those tasks and having the big picture is really what's the growing up moment of, the starting over.
Hmm. Yeah, so and I'm kind of curious too because you have all this past experience. So what from your previous experience has been valuable in starting and creating this, growing this business?
I think the number one thing has been just the business sense. You know, uh, I mean, I've been in a lot of accelerator programs, and it's fascinating that there are moments when I'm sitting in those accelerator programs thinking, "Oh my God, I could run this accelerator program," and there's the other moment saying, "Oh my God, I didn't know about this," right? Because every industry, everything, there are nuances to the industry, but at a higher level, the understanding the big picture, the business sense, I think that's what I have carried forward from the 25 years that I have been at. And my experience has been across various industries. I've been in marine tech, sustainable packaging, food industry, CPG, telecom, utilities, so across the board. And I would say that irrespective of whichever organization I went to, I took experience from my previous organizations and transferred that. So those skills to me, I think, are the business sense, the way you do the processes, etc. Those are very transferable skills, and those are things that I've taken into the entrepreneurship world as well. And as I mentioned, I think that's what has helped us really move forward very systematically. We know the numbers, right? I know what is my cost of production. I know what's my packaging cost. I know how much it takes for my material to go from location A to location B. So I know those fundamentals. So that's, I think, has been the biggest advantage of the experience that I've had.
Yeah, yes. It's you're not starting from complete scratch. You have this knowledge base. And just quickly, I wanted to go into the accelerators for a second here, because you did mention taking the accelerators, and one of them that you've taken was our Feed accelerator. Can you just give us a little bit of feedback onto that? And if someone's listening and kind of considering applying for one of our accelerators in the future, what your kind of experience was or what you would say to them?
I think it was one of the best accelerators that I have been and I've been a part of. I think it's phenomenal. And the reason I say that is that it's very well structured program. It covers every aspect of the food industry business, so to speak. So whether it is from the fundamentals of let's put together a business plan to the aspect about if you're actually manufacturing, what does it take to build the manufacturing, or to go to the other steps about how does distribution work, how does retail work, and really then grooming everybody to have a final pitch, because a lot of times people find it hard to tell their company in one sentence. What do you do? Right, I'm a plant-based company making nutrient dense fiber packed pasta sauces. That's it. So it's that ability to really narrow down and be able to think about all aspects of business. I think the accelerator program covered it brilliantly. And the speakers that you guys brought, very, very, very well rounded people, very great experience, and people who are not just theoretical, right? They're people who are doing this on a day-to-day basis, and they also understand the challenges that the first-time entrepreneurs would feel. So I thought it was a really phenomenal program. I'd encourage everybody to take that at least once in their entire corporate, I would say, entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you. That's I appreciate the kind words, and I didn't mention when I asked the question, but I just wanted to mention as well. You won not only one, but actually two of the awards during our pitch competition. So I just wanted to shout that out while we're recording and
Thank
say
you.
again, congratulations, because that's a really incredible achievement, and just goes to show just how much work you put in, and really understanding your numbers and your business and just showing up and representing your business so well. So
Thank you. Thank you.
congratulations. All right. So let's kind of pivot back to the conversation we were having. I just wanted to just get that accelerator shout out because I really appreciate that. But yeah, so you have this corporate background, and then you kind of have some assumptions probably about what becoming an entrepreneur is going to look like. What assumptions did you have coming into entrepreneurship that maybe that didn't hold up to what you assumed it would be?
Oh, I thought it was going to be a cakewalk. I thought I thought I would go in anywhere, like I could go into a boardroom and really make my presence felt and ask people and tell people the story. I thought it's going to be cakewalk everywhere, but it's not that simple. It is a lot of hard work, and it's like starting over, as we talked about. I was and I'm really in the weeds where I'm actually at the retail stores doing demos. I'm at the events talking about my product. So it's really about being able to convince, whether it's a retailer, whether it's a customer. It's really about going through that journey of getting them to understand why we're doing what we're doing, and then taking a step back and seeing that, oh, it doesn't work every time, right? So you have to pivot all the time. I think that's one of the biggest thing about entrepreneurship is that you follow with one strategy and then you very quickly realize, oh my God, this may not be working. I need to pivot. So we pivot and then we say, okay, is this working? And then somebody will come in and say, hey, yes, this is great, but I don't think I like it. Well, then what do you do? Do you stick to your ground, or do you pivot again? So it's that, which I would say those are the key things which were very, very new and very exciting. But as I said, we take the overall experience of business and then you're able to, you know, translate that. I think one of the biggest things that I have, learned is that when you're an entrepreneur, the most important thing is authenticity, right? It is your story. It is your reason why. And uh, as I said, it's a mom hack, right? It is a mom hack. I did it because I was super challenged, running around with a small child who had allergies, running around at work. It was a huge challenge keeping things running. And so I kind of found a way to work everything around. So if you're true and authentic to yourself, I think that's when people start really accepting you and adapting and adopting your product. So I would say those are the various interesting things that you see as a shift from the corporate world to the entrepreneurial world. But everything is like fascinating. I would say it's a amazing self identity. I would say discovery journey.
Yeah, well, and this is great timing because I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about motherhood, and you also had mentioned to me about raising a competitive athlete, and that kind of has also affected how you think about your business. I personally, I've been sharing a little bit more. I play high level dodgeball, and I've been connecting that to kind of like leadership and business development and certain things myself. So I would love to talk to you from your perspective about how that kind of connects to you as a business owner and um, kind of the connections you see there.
Yeah, I mean, so when my son used to play, he still plays competitive tennis, and he used to also play hockey. So it was multiple sports, and I remember one of the coaches once saying to me is that for a competitive sports player, you need parents who are crazy, but good kind of crazy. And so I kind of took that to heart, and I said, I have to be the crazy, but the good kind of crazy. I try my best. If you ask my son, he's going to say, you're the crazy kind of crazy. But I think in the journey of competitive sports, I would say there are a couple of things. When you're in the corporate world, we talk about results. For one, I've always been responsible for targets and revenues and profitability and all of that. And I used to always say, it's all about the results. Let's focus on the results, 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 results. Being an entrepreneur is all about the journey. It's a process. It's a process which gets you to the result. And it's a very, very different. And that to me came from the journey of competitive sports because yes, results are important, but the process, the journey, the hard work that you put in day after day after day after day, and the grind that you do, that is what actually gives you the results. So, which is very different in the corporate world because corporate world, different people may be doing the grind in a different way. So the whole aspect of grind is divided amongst hundreds and thousands of people, right? So that's very different. But when it comes to an entrepreneurship, it's the process. And I think that's one of the key things that I followed through from being a competitive mom. And the other thing is that uh, it's not about winning at all. It's about, there's an aspect about competing and there's an aspect about winning, right? Competing requires completely different skill sets. Competing requires the ability to innovate, to fight, to keep moving forward. And winning is the result. And so it's really, again, that mindset of, yes, you compete, but you're competing with yourself and you're competing to get better. But not so much just focused on that aspect of, okay, we have to get the result, right? The result's just an aftermath. And I think that's been my journey of working through with my child. As I said, I thought I was being the good kind of crazy. I don't know what my son will say. But I think that's what I'm translating into the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's great. And I think even the good kind of crazy parent, sometimes you might cross that line into the other kind of crazy from time to time, but it shows that you care, right? So
How are your parents?
they were good. They're very supportive. I got more athletic as I got a little bit older. But my brother played very high level hockey. He went to UBC on a scholarship as a hockey goalie and played a little bit of professional in Europe and that sort of thing. So, yeah, they were a good example of I think, good kind of crazy dedicated hockey parents.
You know what it takes, right? It takes a lot.
Yes.
It takes a lot of the parents, it takes a lot of the child.
Hmm.
There are real sacrifices. And I think that's what is in the world of entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's full family sacrifices too, right? It's
Mhm.
sometimes it's the other kids and it's everything to kind of get to that place because there's a gift that's being nurtured and stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So kind of thinking about all of this, and you kind of maybe already touched on this, but I still wanted to ask the question, bec with thinking about all this, how has your definition of success kind of evolved over time when we're looking at all these things?
I mean, for me, the definition of success is, I mean, and maybe call me growing older and wiser, but I think a lot of it, I was reading somewhere and it said success is about results, but it's also about reading the room, right? So to me, there's a lot about that aspect. It's about reading the room, and that comes from the emotional intelligence. Because once you're able, and one of the things that I would say that I've realized as part of this whole entrepreneurial journey is that everything, because reality is that you don't have a lot, right, at the start. You have very restricted funds, you have restricted time, restricted people on the team. So the only thing that you have is relationships, and relationships are built on emotional intelligence. So what you do is, to me, that becomes almost like the cornerstone of success. So I would say that, I mean, of course, eventually, again, going back to a definition of success that one of my son's coaches would tell him, is that it's the feeling of contentment that you get knowing that you've done your best. I'm just rephrasing it. So yes, that's a very esoteric, nice, a great way of thinking. But really, if you look at on a day-to-day basis, it is about success in the little things, and building those elements of, I would say, relationships. And those relationships, for example, I'll give you an example that um, we were just recently invited by the local program of Sobeys team for their store managers meet. And I think that happened because of the relationship that my business partner, co-founder, and my husband, Rupesh, who built with the Sobeys team, right? So to me, that's a huge success, because that one meeting leads you to another and another and another. So I've started defining success as really having that ability to read the room, and having the ability to have that emotional intelligence to be able to look at every situation and look at the big picture as well as look at the finer details. Because as I said, when you're in the weeds and you're picking boxes, it's exhausting. But if you have that intelligence to be able to say, okay, it's a process, work through it, right? That's when you find the success through the journey. Oh my God, I'm like an Excel queen. I mean, people don't like to use the word Excel anymore or use that software, but I'm like an Excel queen. I've done that all my life, whether it's making budgets for my home or whether it's going for a trip, I do Excel sheets for everything. So for me, what Excel is, it's a process, right? It's a step-by-step way of looking at things. And really, I mean, I've always said, and that's the experience that I bring from the corporate world, is that entrepreneurial journey, because it's so challenging, and I also consult, I work with founders to help them build their business, because I've got that business growth skills, where I always tell them that for an entrepreneur the biggest challenge is balancing short term with long term, right? It's about how you balance the short term activities and goals and tasks with the long term objectives and goals. Because sometimes you may have to do some things in the short term to survive, which may not be the long term eventual goal. And sometimes, like for example, as a marketer myself, a lot of people say, oh, why are you not putting so much effort in branding? And I say this is that, well, brand takes time, it takes years to build. So I can't put all my, you know, eggs into one basket of just putting money behind the brand. I have to first go at the grassroots level and get people to connect with the brand first. So really balancing those short term and the long term. So I say, for me, that's where the process comes in. Really, I've always followed the principle of crawl, walk, run, because if you really start running, that means something in the process will break down. So if you really have clear cut definitions of and priorities that you set for yourself, we had very clear priorities. I had clear priorities that by the end of year one, I needed 100 stores. I needed a food service partner, and I needed to be in the e-commerce. I knew very, very well. So I started building towards that. So for example, if I knew I needed food service, I started going for food service related events almost 8 months back. So that's the process that you put in once you know what your goals are, right? So this is the kind of things that I've followed in my journey. I'm a very, very process driven person. I like to follow steps. But these days, but entrepreneurship also teaches you to be nimble, right? Because you have to learn to pivot. You have to learn to, like, we started with glass bottles way back when I was doing my R&D. And when we were launching, we said, oh, take a step back. We want to get into e-commerce. Glass bottles and e-commerce is a disaster. So we actually had to go, absolutely to the ground level to change our packaging. So, but again, that happened because from a process perspective, we knew our strategic priority was e-commerce. So it was all about working backwards.
So I was curious about courage. We kind of talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but I specifically wanted to ask, what has entrepreneurship taught you about courage?
So the first thing before I answer that, I'll answer it this way, is that with entrepreneurship, I was talking to another fellow entrepreneur the other day. I mean, I work with him, I consult him on his business. And we were just discussing, we say, failure for an entrepreneur is at the doorstep. It's always there, right? But so is success, right? So to convert the failure to success, that's what you need, courage, right? So to me, I could have gone the easy route and had the bottle packaging, right? But I did, I made the hard decision to remove the bottle and take a pouch, which nobody has ever done in the pasta sauces aisle, in the shelf stable aisle, right? So that's where we became a category disruptor. Now, did we get pushback? Absolutely. Did we get pushback from retailers? Yes. But did we also get a lot of support? Because retailers came to us and said, oh, finally somebody did something new, right? So I think that's what is courage. You need the courage to be able to break the norm of what has been done in a way, as they say, oh, it was just like that. Like everybody's been doing it. And the courage to be able to stop and very quickly do the new thing. It's not about taking the time, 10 years. No, it all has to be done in less than 2 months. And that requires a lot of courage. Another aspect of entrepreneur is that no matter how much capital you raise, you're always, always, always on a tight budget, right? So to be able to have the courage to make the right decisions in that shoestring budget is a huge thing, right? To be able to say, I know that this might be the best thing for my business, but I know that I have to use the funds to prioritize this, takes a lot of courage from within yourself. I mean, I can give you hundreds of examples that we look at it from a day-to-day perspective, that I would say, oh, I would love to hire. I know, for example, today, I know my business needs somebody who can truly help me with content creation, because I know that that is an ask that I have right now for my business. But that requires certain amount of funds. And I have to do the analysis to say, are those funds better when if I am actually at an event? Probably. And it takes courage for me to, when I know as a corporate person I should be doing that, it takes courage for me to actually make another decision on the business. So it's micro decisions on a daily basis that requires a huge amount of courage. And I would say at a macro level, really turning that uh, feeling of failure or the the experiences of failure into success. I mean, I can give you a classic example. We went to Calgary. We just got back from Calgary last night. We were there doing demos at a lot of locations, and we went to a store where they'd called us. Imagine planning all in advance, and we went to a store, and we reached the store, and the store was dead because it was Father's Day and it was raining, and nobody came into the store. So you look at that and you say, okay, now what am I going to do? You feel like, oh my God. And then you say, okay, you take the next decision, and you have to just move on from it. And finding the opportunities, even in that situation, I think what we did was that we spent the time with the people in the store, chatting up with the people in the store. And then we went back the next day and, set up a demo again. So it is about really finding those little opportunity, I would say, pockets, and really working through them. So that's what is all about entrepreneurship. And as I said, to me, that has been the biggest shift from the corporate world. It's really about figuring out who I am as a person, my own identity, my own self, and understanding what what are my triggers, what are my definitions of success. Like, I always defined success in the past as, you know uh, heading a multi-billion dollar unit, and making sure that we were meeting and exceeding targets. Yeah, that was success. But today, for me, the success definitions have changed. Today, the definitions of process has changed. The definition of the journey has changed. So it's really about, as I said, being a mom, it's all about discovering yourself. Being an entrepreneur is literally that.
And what does resilience look like compared to earlier in your career? How has that kind of changed for you?
In the corporate world, a lot of times it is about resilience, is about doing it over and over again, right? And continuing to do it over and over again. In an entrepreneurial world, while it is doing it over and over again, it's also showing up over and over again. There's a subtle difference, but that subtle difference is huge as an entrepreneur, because when you show up, you're showing up for yourself, right? You're actually not just doing it because you're supposed to do it. So we all know, we've been in jobs 25 years. I can't say that I've loved every minute of every job. No, but resilience to me here is really showing up for myself on a daily basis in the world, in the new world that I'm in right now. And, being able to, as I said, having 100 emotions, but really pushing the negative emotions down, and saying the positive emotions are really what's going to help me show up to myself. That's what it is. I mean, I was like, we did a 10-hour drive, and I'm like, oh my God, why can't I have $1 trillion and have my own private jet? Well, you know what? Get over that emotion and focus on, well, why you're doing it. You're doing it because you love this, right? And that's what actually at a deeper level starts to build the resilience and starts to build the ability to show up for yourself.
Well put. That's great. Um, and now with this, we did talk a little bit about this, but I just wanted to ask kind of how your relationship with failure has changed, kind of going through all of this as well.
Oh, it's still scary. Don't get me wrong. It's
Mhm.
still very, very scary because um, I think the aspect of letting yourself down is scarier than the business failing. So there's a difference of the failure. But I think I'm looking at things a little differently today. It's like I understand there's, like, as I said, in sports, uh, every sports person you listen to, they will tell you, if you don't know how to deal with failure, then you cannot be a sports person. And um, funny enough, I learned that through my child, and I'm just translating that. So I can't be hypocritical and tell him, oh, it's okay, move on from failure, and not do the same thing for myself. So I've literally created a switch in my head right now where, to me, the failure is an opportunity hidden. That's really how I'm looking at everything. Now, again, uh, small setbacks on a day-to-day basis, it's okay, it happens. You just move on, right? and you take it and you say, what's the best I can do? But really, uh, to me, that failure about, failing myself, it was very big. And I think I've learned to deal with that and say, it's okay. It's okay. Just move on, on to the next.
That's great. Um, so how do you manage the pressure of your own expectations?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a tough one. That's a very tough one because after having been at a certain level in the corporate world, I think that's the thing that weighs you down the most is your own expectation, which really eventually links to the last question about failure. But I think, as I said, to me, the process that I follow, right? I kind of demystify it. I kind of try and simplify it uh, because a lot of it is not in my control anymore, right? A lot of it is in how we do the business. And I say the word we because it's me and my business partner, and then as a family, and how we run the business. So, how we follow the processes, what goals we set. And I guess over time, it takes off the pressure. It takes off the expectations for my own self. So, really working through those uh, really going through those steps really helps me through that. Uh, but do I say that it's easy? No, that's the hardest part about it. I'm not going to deny that's the hardest part about the shift from the corporate world is the expectations of my own self, the expectations, the fear of failure for my own self, as I said earlier. But I'm trying every day. I'm learning every day. I know I'm growing every day. And uh, I know that irrespective, I feel successful every day.
That's great. So now just I'm looking for a piece of advice from you. So what advice would you give to someone who is struggling with self-doubt while building something new?
It's normal to feel self doubt. I think the first thing I would say is to acknowledge that self doubt. The reality is that whether we're in the corporate world, whether we're a new mom, whether we're a mom of a competitive sports player, or whether we're doing a new business, it doesn't matter. You always have self doubt. It's okay to have self doubt. But the point is, how long do you linger on with that self doubt is what the whole trick is. I remember Djokovic, who's a world's number one tennis player. He's the goat of tennis. I remember he's saying that um, everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad moments. It's how quickly you are able to get out of that bad moment is what you need to do as an entrepreneur or as a person or in any of those scenarios that I talked about. So to me, yes, it's okay. Self doubt is normal. Acknowledge it, but how quickly can you switch from it is what is really going to help you move to the next level.
I love that. That's great, great advice. If you could go back and talk to yourself on day one of starting Greens and Beans, what would you say to yourself?
Oh, you can do it. Yeah.
Straight and straightforward. I like it. I
Yeah,
like
you
it.
can do it. Yeah. And uh I think that's just been my thing is that I would say that to anybody, you can do it. But I can also say one more thing is that I've met so many entrepreneurs along the way. So many entrepreneurs because I also consult with founders, help them grow their business. It is so important to have the business sense, right? If anything, truly take the time to understand what it takes to do a business. You know, don't just do it because you're passionate about it. Like I understand, great. Passion is great, but you need something more than passion because as I've said in the corporate world, like strategy is nothing but cool words on a document. The whole magic is in the implementation of it. It's the execution of it. So that's what the whole thing is that if you're being an entrepreneur, great. Follow your passion, follow your dream, etc. Be true. All of that is great. But learn, understand, do the hard work in understanding how you can take the business forward. And that's why I say, yeah, you can do it. Anybody can do it.
I love that. And this, I think, really connects to this is my final question here. And then we're going to jump into a little speed round of just fun little get to know you questions. But I just wanted to end with is there a lesson that you hope other founders take away from hearing your story?
Again, I guess I'm probably going to repeat myself. I think I would say that uh, just take the time to learn about business. If that is the one thing I would tell people, I would say take the time to learn about business. It's not complicated. You don't have to go to an MBA school. You just have to know, you literally reach out to me and I'll give you 10 tips and tricks and cheat sheet of what are the fundamentals that you need to know. And so that's what I would tell all entrepreneurs. And again, if failure is at the doorstep, so is success.
I love that. That's so great. What a great way to end that. So I like to kind of when I remember to do it, I like to wrap up with a quick little like speed round at the end of the episode, just some like fun little questions to get to know you a little bit more. Are you ready to hop into
Yes,
that?
yes,
All right,
absolutely.
perfect. All right. So for you, would you choose coffee or tea?
Tea.
Morning person or a night owl?
Oh my God, 100% morning person.
What is one book that everyone should read?
I had this book called it's a very small book. It's called Fish Tales. It's very interesting. It's all about how do you take mundane things and make them interesting in life.
I'll have to check that out. That's great. What's a leadership trait you admire most?
Having the emotional intelligence.
What's one word that describes entrepreneurship?
Oh my God, grind.
What's a word that describes greens and beans where it's at today?
Onward.
What's something you're learning right now?
Everything.
Perfect. And what's your personal definition of success?
Just being content knowing I've done my best.
I love that. All right. Thank you so much, Natasha, for joining us. One of the things I appreciate most about this conversation is the reminder that entrepreneurship isn't just about building a business, it's also about personal growth. And sometimes the biggest transformation isn't in the product, the revenue, or the milestones. It's in the person who you are becoming along the way. So thank you for sharing your perspective and journey with us. And thank you to everyone who listened to this episode of the Friends of FEADies podcast. And we'll see you next time.
And thank you for having me. Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Take care.
Thank you to our listeners for indulging your entrepreneurial appetite with this episode of Friends of FEADies, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner ISET, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. If anything we have discussed today has ignited an entrepreneurial fire within you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, or you're craving mentorship and coaching to help grow your business, please reach out to us at feed.ca. That's FEAD.ca. Connect with us on social media. We're sprinkled all over the digital landscape, and our team is ready to provide the mentorship and coaching you need to flourish. At Feed, we're here to empower women in the agri-food industry, so don't hesitate to reach out to us to join our vibrant community of foodpreneurs. Until next time, bake those dreams into reality, stay hungry for success, and continue to nourish your entrepreneurial spirit with Feed. Bon appetit.